Wife's stubbornness about naming our son after her troubled brother led to explosive fights, eviction threats, and family chaos. Myself, 28 male, and my wife 26 have been together for 10 years, and married for 4 of those. My wife is pregnant with our first child, a boy, and she is due in early July. Now onto the issue that has arisen. My wife wants to name our son after her brother, who passed a little over a year ago. Her brother, we'll call him T, was her only sibling and they were very close growing up, as they were only 2 years apart. However, her brother was not the most pleasant person. Her brother was a drug addict starting from age 14 to 15, he stole from everyone around him including myself and my wife, he was abusive to every one of his partners and his child, and he served several years behind bars. He was also abusive to my wife, and her parents. He had a stay-away order from our home because he broke in while we were away and stole our TV, my wife's jewelry box, and one of my hunting rifles. He passed last year in April from a drug overdose, and it affected my wife very deeply. It was her first major loss she has suffered, and she still attends therapy to help cope. When we found out we were having a boy, she immediately wanted the name to be T's name. I heavily disagreed, and I have offered many replacements, other family names like her father or grandfather's, but she will not budge. She wants our son to have the exact same name as her brother, first and middle. She has even gone as far to say that if we name him something else she will have it changed, or only call him by T. My final straw was when my wife ordered a blanket with T's name sewn into it for our son. I blew up, and I told her I was not naming our child after a drug addict who took advantage of everyone around him. My wife blew up at me, she screamed at me to leave, threatened to call the police if I didn't, she called me a piece of shit for talking about her dead brother like he was trash. I did leave, I told her I would attempt to speak to her again about this once we had both calmed down, and I apologized for speaking about T in a negative way. I'm getting calls nonstop from her family, calling me names for speaking about T and not wanting to honor him by naming our son after him. My family is on my side, her family is on her side, and my friends are split on the matter. Update 1. So, if you recall in my first post, me and my wife were expecting a baby boy in early July, and our conflict was occurring over my wife wanting to name our son after her late brother. We got into a huge fight, some names were called and threats were made, and I was led to this subreddit to ask advice and opinions of internet strangers. Well, a week after the post I sat down with my wife and we had a very long and difficult conversation. She broke down and admitted she was struggling more than she let on with the loss of her brother, and she told me she felt uncomfortable talking to me about it due to my feelings towards him and how he lived his life. I was devastated to say the least. I have never felt like such a horrible partner. I was selfish, I failed to see him as anything more than his mistakes, and I failed to support my wife through his death. It was a long talk with lots of tears, and we both agreed to be more open in the future and less judgmental. We started attending therapy together less than 2 weeks after that, and we have been going ever since once a week. It was rough at first, but it has helped tremendously in dealing with the bumps in the road of marriage. As for our son, we came to an agreement on a name after lots of long discussion, a first name we both adored and her brother's middle name, just spelled differently. A good compromise for both of us, and it was my son's own name that no one before him had carried. We were both happy. Then on July 3, 2022, my wife delivered a beautiful, healthy, 8 pounds baby girl. To say that we were shocked would be an understatement. My daughter came home the next day, and since then I am still in awe of how we created something so perfect. We didn't figure out a name until she was a week old, but I am happy to share that Eleanor Shea is what we came up. We are still adjusting to life with an infant, but so far it has been nothing short of amazing. Thank you for your past advice, internet friends and strangers. I am just here to vent my frustrations and scream into the void about my current situation. I can't talk to anyone in my personal life about this. My wife is cheating on me. My wife is cheating and she has been for the past 2 months. I just don't understand? I don't even know where to start to begin to understand. We have a beautiful home, stable careers, we're not financially struggling, no drug or alcohol abuse, we attend therapy together. Our daughter is healthy, perfect, our 6-year wedding anniversary is 3 months from tomorrow. We've been together 11 years. I have spent the last 2 days examining everything about us under a microscope, trying to find a crack. Where I went wrong, when did she become unhappy, when did this life, our life, become unsatisfactory for her? For her to step outside of our marriage with some random guy she met on Facebook? For her to throw our family away? I just don't understand. I found out on Monday, completely by chance. My daughter's tablet was dead. I grabbed my wife's iPad so she could watch her nighttime videos and go to sleep. Wife isn't home right now, she's on a trip and won't be back for another 4 days. I keep hearing message notifications dinging on her iPad while my daughter has it, so I took it to turn it on silent only to see a man's name I didn't recognize with a little winky face next to it. I went through everything. They've done it all, met up, spent the night together, went on dates, they even have a romantic cruise planned for next month. The same cruise she told me was a bachelorette trip with one of her friends. All of these outings that I encouraged. She told me they were with friends, I encouraged her. I was so proud she was getting out there and becoming more social, since she expressed motherhood made her feel like a recluse. And after digging a little deeper, all of these new friends she's been out with don't even exist. All lies. They are characters she's created to continue her relationship with this man. I feel like a complete and total idiot. I never second-guessed a lie she fed me. I gave her my 100% trust. We've been doing couples therapy for a year, we communicate, we go on dates, we get each other gifts, our sex life was great. I never, not even for a second, would have suspected this. I don't know how to confront her with this. I don't want this. I don't want to split up our home. But I know that this isn't something therapy can fix. I know myself well enough to know I'll never be able to trust her again. Do I just let go? Let her go be with this man who clearly makes her happier than I can? My entire existence is intertwined with her. How do I even begin to untangle that and separate? I have 4 more days to sit and overthink this. I genuinely don't know Chinaman. Thank you everyone for the advice. I am trying to keep up with comments, and eventually will reply to everyone. Since posting and reading the comments, I've been working on getting all the messages/pictures/videos into a folder on my personal computer. I went through our home cameras and found that she's had him at our house several times, either picking her up or them swimming amongst other things, in our pool together. The more I find, the sicker I feel. I have a lot of phone calls to make in the next few days. And an appointment to get screened for STIs. I do want everyone to rest assured my daughter is mine. We had a DNA test done when she was an infant to scan for hereditary diseases I carry. I'm going to reach out to my parents and fill them in so they can babysit while I handle this for the next few days. I posted here almost a month ago venting my frustrations about discovering my wife's affair, and I received a magnitude of comments and messages filled with advice and kind words. For that I thank everyone who took the time to comment or write me, and I'm sorry for anyone who related to my situation. I'm here with somewhat of an update, but mostly more venting. My life is upside down and it feels good to get it all out somewhere. Sorry if a lot of this is rambling, and sorry for the length. After making my post, I took the advice of everyone and gathered up all evidence and contacted lawyers in my area. I found a really great one and went ahead and started on divorce papers before my wife got home. I also got tested for any STIs, and told my parents/best friend about the situation. I took my daughter to my parents so I could have the alone time to mentally prepare myself to face my wife with this discovery. I rage cleaned a lot, and cried a lot those last 2 days before she got back. I packed some of her stuff, but then unpacked it and cried more. I had it planned to lay out all the screenshots along with divorce papers on our dining room table and just sit and wait for her, but I didn't get the chance to do that. She was supposed to get home later in the afternoon on Sunday, but she ended up getting back around 6:30 that morning. She didn't call or text in hopes of surprising me. I was up drinking coffee, and you guessed it, crying, when she walked into the house. I didn't greet her, I just went and got the folders of evidence and divorce papers and gave them to her. I don't remember anything she said that day, but I just said I knew I wanted a divorce, and I would keep the house as it was in my name solely. It hurt a lot. I wanted to hug her, but also scream at her. Lots of tears from her, lots of yelling at me. I didn't say anything. I told her we could discuss it at length with lawyers present once she accepted the situation and calmed down. I think someone called it gray wall in the comments of my last post, not entirely sure, but I tried my best to do that and not show emotion/argue with her. It was really hard, hardest thing I hope I'll ever have to do. She betrayed me, but I still felt awful making her cry. She left that day with some clothes/personal belongings and went to her parents, and my parents and best friend came to stay with me and my daughter. I had my lawyer arrange a meeting between us to discuss custody/belongings/money/everything else that following Tuesday. Well, Monday I got a call from my clinic to come in to review results of STI tests, and as it turns out her parting gift to me is high as foul too. I cannot describe in words how angry, sad, shattered I am. I'm still accepting it, I don't think I have yet, but I am working on it. I know it's common, very common, it's not going to kill me, but it doesn't make it suck any less. I joined a support group on Facebook, those people are great. Going into Tuesday with that knowledge was awful. I felt so much shame bringing that up in front of not only her, but both of our lawyers. I knew if I tried to discuss it with her privately it wouldn't go well, not with the amount of anger/sadness I had in my system. She never apologized, she was a different person that day. I felt like I was looking into the eyes of a complete stranger, no emotion whatsoever. Divorce-wise everything is cut and dry. We separated finances, the house is mine, we are just waiting the 90 days for it to finalize. There were no objections on her end but one, she wants to terminate her parental rights over our daughter. I say wants, she is terminating rights, at least trying to. She doesn't want her anymore. Our daughter, our baby. I was fucking blindsided. I'm still blindsided. My daughter is one, but she loves her mama. Mama was her first word. She is one. It's been 3 weeks, and the pain I have felt, the pain for my daughter, for my family, has been indescribable. I don't know who she is anymore, I don't know what changed or when it changed, but it terrifies me. I feel like my entire life was pulled out from under me. I haven't talked to her, per lawyer's advice and my own fear of what I would say. She hasn't seen our daughter, she told me that day she didn't want to. She didn't want any pictures from our home, any memories, just her clothes and electronics. I don't understand any of it, I don't think I ever will. We have to go to court for her petition to terminate rights, and I don't want to look at her. I just can't accept this as reality right now, not after everything. I'm trying as hard as I possibly can to keep a positive outlook on everything and be strong for my family and my baby, but this has been so hard. I hope a year from now I can look back and say I survived that, but right now it feels impossible to even see next week. I'm not suicidal, so don't take it as that. I'm just emotionally, mentally, physically demolished. Absolutely demolished. Hi there, for anyone who has messaged me and the loads of comments I have received regarding my past venting on this account, apologies first off. I genuinely kinda forgot I had it. Not much of a Reddit guy, but I've been getting into TikTok lately and saw a video about a super depressing Reddit story, and remembered my own super depressing Reddit story lol. It's been around 8ish months since I posted here about my upside down situation, and a lot of people messaged me in that time wanting to know how I was and what unfolded, and I really appreciate you strangers for all the kind messages. It genuinely means a lot, and I'm sorry I haven't replied or anything. My life has been such a whirlwind these past few months. It's hard to believe that was that long ago. To sum up the sad stuff, first off, my divorce was finalized without any hiccups or holdups. I'm still in the works of trying to sell our old house, but in the meantime we moved to a new state. My ex is still in the process of petitioning for termination of parental rights. I've only seen her 3 times since moving and it has been to fly out for court. I was granted temporary full custody in the process, per her request and suggestion, and she was not mandated any visitation and has denied any offer of it. She has not seen my daughter in 7 months, she has requested not to. I don't know what else she's been up to or if she is still with her boyfriend or not. Since the divorce, it has been in best interest of my mental health to keep the contact as minimal as possible, and she has done the same. I have offered many chances for her to visit with my daughter, whether it be video call or flying out, and before we moved I asked weekly, but it was always a no. Her parents still video call with my daughter and we're hoping they can fly out over summer and spend some time with her. They've been cut off by my ex as well. I'm not sure what changed, but I can't change it back, and I am accepting it mostly. I wish her well in all future endeavors. Now for the happy stuff that has happened. Firstly, I am a proud Arizonan now. Never saw myself moving here, but we have loved it so far. My parents packed up and came with us and I don't think I've ever seen them so happy. My daughter is doing amazing. She will be 2 years old in July, and she is the smartest, funniest toddler I've ever met. She knows her ABCs, can count to 20 without help, loves animals and bugs especially. She thinks farts and a cow mooing are the definition of comedy, and she doesn't know, but she has been my biggest motivator to heal from this whole ordeal and be my best self. Like, I genuinely don't know how I helped make such an awesome kid. The more her personality grows, the more in awe I am of just how cool she is. I could talk for days about her, so I'll cap it here before this ends up being a Harry Potter length post lol. As for myself, I'm in therapy and have been throughout these 8 months, and I'm in a much better headspace. I'm working on getting back on top of my health, as I did put on about 30 stress pounds. I'll get there eventually, but I'm not sweating it too much. I have not dated or tried to. I don't think I will anytime soon. I've adjusted to being a single parent pretty okay for the most part. I credit that to my family and friends more than anything because they have been a huge support system throughout this. There are still really hard moments that have happened and I know there are more to come, but I will roll with it just as I have this and hope to come out on top. This is not the end of the world for me, even if it feels/felt like it in the moment. The sun will rise tomorrow, birds will chirp, and all will be well. Thanks to my therapist for that. Those 2 sentences have helped me immensely. Update 2. My post history sums up the utter hell I went through a while ago. Kind of just posting as a response to messages and an update. Despite everything, I am well. I haven't logged into this account in a while, as I also almost completely forgot about it, but I saw through my email notifications I had quite a few messages, so I popped in to check. Mostly people wanting updates regarding my ex and asking how I'm doing. Thank you, firstly, to all the kind strangers who sent very positive and uplifting messages. I apologize for not responding to everyone at the time. As far as my ex is concerned, it has been total silence. I stopped sending pictures/updates on my daughter a few months ago as they weren't responded to, and I wasn't mandated to. Our custody case/her petition is still in limbo with the court system back in her state, so we are still under the original order from our divorce. I do not know what she is up to or what her personal life entails. Her parents still come for visits with my daughter and talk regularly with her, but as far as my ex goes, they are about as in the dark as I am. I wish her well. Yes, I still love Arizona. I have nice neighbors, my daughter has a lot of friends in daycare, and my parents are also doing great. I switched careers in November, took a little bit of a pay cut, but I'm home earlier and I have a lot of very friendly coworkers. Our dog is doing well, and yes, she grew out of chewing. We actually adopted a cat in March of this year and they've become great pals, and my daughter adores him. My daughter is thriving. She is smart, funny, loving, and creative. She loves animals, swimming, all things bluey, and she has recently developed a strong appreciation for Dolly Parton in every song she sings lol. Yes, I'm still in therapy, and I'm doing really well. I have accepted the past for what it is and mostly moved forward. It hasn't come easy, and I know there are going to be difficult conversations in the future, but right now things are good. I have been trying to put more effort into my physical health, and I have been testing out different hobbies that align with my schedule and give me something to do that I enjoy. I do not enjoy hiking or running. No, I'm not dating. I don't have the time or desire right now, and I am okay with that. Maybe one day, when I feel more stable, and more comfortable introducing anyone into my daughter's life. But for right now, she needs stability more than I need a girlfriend. I think that about sums it up for anyone curious or checking in. Not much substance, but I appreciate my boring life these days, lol. This is a post that is pretty much a synopsis of my journal, but it feels nice to have it out somewhere for people to see. My situation sucked, and now it's better, a lot better. I hope anyone else going through dark times can make it out on top and relatively unscathed. Update 3. I didn't think I'd be back here with anything other than we went to the splash pad and my kid said something hilarious, but life apparently still has a few plot twists for me. I'm sorry in advance, it's long, but this is the first time I've put the whole thing into words and my brain is still scrambled eggs. So the quiet that I wrote about before didn't last. The court finally scheduled a big hearing on the termination petition. I flew back, wore the same navy suit I wore to our divorce because it felt like armor, and sat in one of those rooms that always smells like paper and old coffee, staring at a screen with my ex's name on mute. She showed up on Zoom, late, camera off. The judge denied her petition. No step-parent adoption in place, no compelling best interest argument, nothing that met the very high bar to let a living parent just wash their hands of a child. He set a child support order that my lawyer said was standard, noted her lack of contact and her record of refusing visitation, and gave us a status date in 6 months. I felt a weird mix of anger and relief, angry that it had gotten that far, relieved that the court didn't just toss my little girl like a hot potato. I walked out into the bright winter Sunday and Saturday on the curb of the courthouse and felt this huge weight settle and lift at the same time. I FaceTimed my daughter from the sidewalk and she tried to show me a ladybug she was convinced was living in our living room lamp. That grounded me. I thought that was going to be the headline for this update. Then 2 weeks later, at 1 in the morning on a Thursday, my phone lit up with an unknown number from my old state. I almost let it go to voicemail. I'm so glad I didn't. It was a woman from their Department of Child Services and my stomach hit the floor before she even said the words, because there's really only one reason they call you, either something is wrong, or they need you. Turns out it was both. My ex had a baby. A little boy. I didn't know she was pregnant, her parents didn't know she was pregnant. He was early, but okay, and he was in the hospital and they were trying to do their job and find family or kin to take him so he wouldn't go to a stranger. They told me her parents couldn't take a newborn because of some health stuff I won't put on the internet. The alleged father was not identified, and my name came up because of my daughter. They asked if I'd be willing to be a kinship placement for him since he's my daughter's sibling. They explained the interstate stuff, that it wouldn't be come get him tonight but a process, classes, a home study, approvals on both ends. They said I didn't have to decide on forever, just the next right thing, keeping siblings connected while the adults figure out what the adults are going to do. If you'd asked me a year ago how I would respond to that call, I think I would have had 1,000 logistical questions and a long list of reasons to say no. At 1 in the morning, with my house quiet and my daughter asleep down the hall, I said yes. It came out of me before my brain caught up. I could hear my therapist's voice in the back of my head telling me that sometimes you decide the life you want by the decisions you make when there isn't time to curate them. I said yes, and then I cried into a dish towel in the dark kitchen because the yes felt both terrifying and exactly right. Then real life hit. The next 10 days were a whirl of phone calls, fingerprinting, a frantic deep clean even though the social worker who came out was the chillest woman I've ever met and was much more concerned that my outlets had covers than the fact that my junk drawer is where organization goes to die. I did the classes they needed me to do, I sent them proof of the other background checks we already had from daycare and my job, my parents had their fingerprints done because they live with me, and we set up the spare room that had been my office with a bassinet and a weirdly complicated rocking chair that took me and my dad a YouTube video and 2 beers to figure out. Meanwhile, I FaceTimed the caseworker at the hospital and she let me see him. I sat on my couch and looked at a screen and cried some more over a little guy I hadn't even met yet because there's just something about teeny tiny fingers and a knit cap that flattens you. I flew out 2 weeks later for a meeting and to spend a few hours with him. I don't think I breathed the whole plane ride. He was smaller than I expected and bigger than I was prepared for, all at once. I put my hand next to his face and he turned toward it with that newborn rooting instinct and I had this ridiculous flood of memory of doing that same motion with my daughter in a different hospital in a different life. The nurse smiled at me and said, "He knows you already," and even if that's something they say to every wobbly-looking adult who walks in, I chose to believe her. I whispered to him that I couldn't take him home yet, that adults have to fill out forms and wait for other adults to stamp them, but that I would be there when they said go. I met with his social worker and mine and a guardian ad litem and my ex's mom, who cried so hard I thought she'd break in half. She hugged me for a long time and thanked me and told me she was sorry, and I don't think either of us meant those words in the way people usually do. ICPC took longer than I wanted and faster than it probably ever has in the history of bureaucracy. 3 weeks later, on a Wednesday afternoon, my doorbell rang and my dog lost her mind and my daughter yelled peep-oh, and I opened the door to a woman I'd only ever seen on my phone holding a car seat. I swear everything got quiet for a second. I'd expected that to be the moment I would get punched in the face with resentment or bitterness about how this all came to be. Instead I just felt relief, like my shoulders dropped 2 inches and my chest could finally expand. She came in, sat his car seat on the kitchen island, walked me through a stack of papers as thick as a phone book, and then she left and it was us. First night, we did not sleep. I'd forgotten about the newborn noises that sound like baby goats. I made formula with one eye open and spilled half of it on my shirt. My daughter woke up at some ungodly pre-dawn hour because she's 2 and circadian rhythms are a suggestion, and she padded out in footy pajamas and stopped dead in her tracks when she saw the bassinet. She whispered baby? Like she was in a museum. I told her yes, baby, and she climbed onto the couch next to me and patted his blanket with one fingertip for a full minute like he might break if she used her whole hand. She sang, in this tiny sing-song voice, the chorus of Jolene because apparently Dolly is her go-to lullaby. He hiccuped and she squealed and I felt like my heart did a somersault and landed someplace steadier than it's been in a long time. I'm not going to share his name here, but we call him Little Man around the house. He has a surprising amount of hair and a birthmark behind his ear and he makes this indignant squeak when he stretches that cracks my parents up every single time. He also has reflux, which means we've been doing a lot of laundry and a lot of walks in the backyard at 3 in the morning because motion helps. I had forgotten how stupid and beautiful it is to be awake when the world is made of silence and the desert smells like rain, pacing circles with a warm bundle and a burp cloth over your shoulder. Practical stuff is boring but matters, so here's the gist without turning this into a law school thesis. He's placed with me as kinship care. It's foster, but with a longer tether. It's temporary on paper and very not temporary in my heart. There will be hearings, there will be case plans, there will be acronyms I don't understand until the 4th time someone explains them. His case is his case and not my daughter's case, so we walked 2 tracks at once. The same judge who denied my ex's termination petition for our daughter signed off on a no-contact order for the baby for now, and there's a review in a few months. I'm doing what I did before, getting up, making breakfast, making sure everyone is fed and safe and loved, and letting legal things move at the speed that legal things always seem to move. My ex has not reached out. She sent one email through her attorney consenting to the placement and then nothing else. I don't know if she's sober, I don't know if she's with the same guy, I don't know if she lives in the same apartment. I know that I don't hate her as cleanly as part of me wants to, because hate is a lot of work and I honestly do not have the bandwidth right now. I know that if someday she gets healthy and asks to be in either of their lives, the only answer I'll ever give is it depends on what's best for them, not what is easiest for me. And I know that if that never happens, I am still going to make sure they know who they are and where they come from in a way that doesn't poison them against themselves. The rest of life keeps lifing. We sold the old house finally, which felt like closing a chapter I didn't realize I was still reading. I took the money and did the least sexy thing possible. I put it into a boring savings account and bought a second-hand minivan that I swore I'd never own and now will pry out of my cold, dead hands because sliding doors are the single greatest innovation in parenting since sippy cups. My neighbors showed up with casseroles and coffee and a breast pump someone had in a closet and then realized, after a very awkward 15 seconds, that I do not have breasts and we all laughed until we cried. My daughter took her role as big sister very seriously from literally day one and now will stand next to the changing table like a foreman supervising a job, handing me wipes and narrating each step like she's filming a tutorial. The dog has decided her hurt has grown and sleeps under the bassinet like a furry bodyguard. The cat pretends not to care and then sneaks in at 4 in the morning to lay his head on the baby's foot and purr loud enough to rattle the window. In the margins, I'm still me. I go to therapy once a week and sometimes all we do is sit there and I cry and say, I'm so tired, and my therapist says, I know, and we stare at the bookshelf for a minute and then talk about something small we can do differently on Tuesdays. I've lost some of the stress weight by accident because no one tells you that rocking a baby in a carrier while vacuuming is basically CrossFit. I joined the Imagination Library because the universe apparently loves poetry. The kid who has Dolly Parton as a soundtrack now gets Dolly Parton books in the mail and it's the cutest full circle I've ever seen. My daughter is starting to string together little sentences, and the other day she patted my cheek and said, Daddy strong. Daddy funny. Daddy silly, and it was better than any pep talk I've ever given myself. I'd be lying if I said there haven't been moments where the anger sneaks up on me so fast I have to step into the bathroom and stare at the grout until it passes. Not anger at a baby, never that, but anger at being in this position at all. Anger that I have memorized a doctor's office waiting room ceiling in a state I no longer live in. Anger that I will someday have to explain to 2 incredible little humans why their story looks different than their friends' stories. I let myself feel it now instead of telling it to shut up, and then I go back out and make spaghetti and trip over a toy dump truck and the feeling moves through me and doesn't calcify. That's been the biggest change, I think. I don't hold my breath anymore, I breathe through it. I don't know if that makes sense unless you've been there, but there it is. I don't know what happens next. I don't know if, 6 months from now, little man will legally be mine forever or if we'll be working a reunification plan or if we'll be in some in-between that makes my spreadsheet-loving brain itch. I know the only place I've ever felt sure in this whole mess is when I'm sitting on our couch at the end of the day with a sleeping baby on my chest and a toddler with sticky hands curled under my arm, watching an episode of Bluey I could recite in my sleep, listening to my parents whisper laugh in the kitchen while they load the dishwasher like they're afraid to scare the peace away. I know how lucky we are and how unfair this is at the same time. Both can be true. I'm not dating. I don't want to. I joke with my coworker that the next person I let into my orbit is going to have to step over a bouncer named Boundary and a velvet rope marked "Are you emotionally literate?" But the truth is, I don't have room for anyone else right now, and that feels like a relief instead of a loss. There is something oddly comforting about knowing exactly where your energy needs to go and pouring it there without apology. I don't think 20-year-old me would recognize this version of my life. I don't think he'd believe that the hardest year he could imagine would be followed by a season that is still hard, but good hard, the kind that builds muscle where you used to be hollow. If you're reading this because you're in the middle of your own blender and you're waiting for it to shut off, I wish I had a tidy arc to hand you. I don't. Mine looks like this: the sun still rises. Birds still yell at my dog for existing. Dolly still sings. There is always another diaper to change and another cup of coffee and another page in a bored book about a bear who just wants some honey. And somehow, that has been enough. I'll try not to disappear for 8 months again, but if I do, assume it's because someone dumped a box of blocks on my lap and demanded a castle. I'm okay. We're okay. And okay feels like a miracle I don't take for granted anymore.